first thing when we think about the investments, the scale of the investments that have been realized through Bill and IRA, it's really important to note like the breadth of what those investments are covering, from clean energy to manufacturing to construction, transportation, resilience. We're talking about a lot of industries really being transformed in some communities. And the dollars are flowing both to the private sector, for example, for manufacturing, and to the public sector in the form of competitive grants and formula allocations. And so what we're seeing are investments in multiple industries affecting communities simultaneously. And this need, I think Joe alluded to this earlier, this need for a regional coordination approach between community colleges, labor, city governments, training organizations, and states in ways that, in some instances really haven't happened at this scale before. And so the three key trends where we're seeing governments play a bigger role are one, the allocation of dollars for training. And so, for example, we saw Pennsylvania's first of its kind Commonwealth Workforce Transformation Program get announced in the summer, which is the largest and boldest commitment to date by a state to set aside a portion of these federal capital funds through a bill to ensure well prepared and to ensure workers are well prepared for the jobs and trained for the jobs. So this kind of massive allocation of dollars towards training, I think, is really huge and really key. We're also seeing government play this role in strategic planning and analysis to kind of foster longer term regional coordination and planning. So governments are really well positioned to kind of play the role of the convener and the planner. And we saw, for example, just today, the city of New York released its Green Economy Action Plan, which is an ambitious plan that lays out a roadmap for the city's investment in a green economy and its plan to train and position New Yorkers for those jobs. We also saw the state of New Jersey release its Green Jobs for a Sustainable Future roadmap. So these kinds of analysis are really key because they kind of create the plan really for the kinds of jobs, how many jobs, and the training needs there are. And while we are seeing these roadmaps, we're also seeing that there remain serious data gaps that make it hard for states and cities to do some of this analysis at times. And then the third I'll say is this thinking about government's role in really being able to incorporate inclusive workforce standards in its administrative practices and in its policies. And particularly, for example, in thinking about how can procurement be a strategic tool for the millions of dollars that flow through government to actually shift the jobs that these dollars are incentivizing. So, for example, we awarded a $1.6 million grant in Texas in Austin, Texas, to the Better Builder program. And in that program, we saw immigrant construction workers, city governments, and construction firms all work together to embed good jobs and training standards in a $10 billion bill-funded overhaul and greening of Austin's transit system, right? And so if you think about that, $1.6 million grant was able to really kind of shift some of these contracting practices in a way that affected billions of dollars. That's really possible through government, and that's very much what we're excited to continue to support and make part of the best practices we're seeing in this space.